Okay, so yeah, this time we are continuing the reading from the great disciples of the Buddha, this time on Venerable Mahākassapa's relationship to the Buddha. We already read about him and Bada Kapilani and how Mahākassapa came to meet the Buddha. So now we're going to read about Kassapa's relationship to the Buddha. Okay, right. So we have already seen that there was a deep inner relationship between the Venerable Mahākassapa and the Buddha. And this relationship, according to our traditional sources, had its root in their past lives. So according to the Jātaka stories, Kassapa was connected with the Bodhisatta. That means Bodhisatta is the Buddha in his previous life, in 19 existences, and frequently through a close family bond. So they were closely connected. 19 times is quite something. So no less than 6 times, Kassapa had been the Bodhisatta's father, twice his brother, and often his friend or teacher. And it was thus not their first meeting. And we can understand why such an immediate and strong devotion and wholehearted dedication towards the master arose in Kassapa's heart at the first sight of him. From the Mahākassapa's final life, many conversations are reported between the Buddha and this great disciple. It happened on 3 occasions that the master spoke to him. Exhort the monks, Kassapa. Give them a discourse on the Dhamma, Kassapa. Either I, Kassapa, should exhort the monks or you. Either I or you should give them a discourse on the Dhamma. And these words imply a high recognition of Kassapa's ability, because not every arhat has the capacity to expound the teaching well and effectively. So the commentary raises here the question why it was Mahākassapa who was placed by the Buddha on such a high footing in this respect and not Sariputta or Mahamoggallana. And the Buddha did so, says the commentary, because he knew that Sariputta and Moggallana would not survive him, but Kassapa would. And he wanted to bolster Kassapa's stature before the other monks, so they would consider him one whose advice is to be heeded. On 3 occasions, when the Buddha requested Kassapa to exhort the monks, he refused to comply. On the first of these occasions, Kassapa said that it had now become difficult to speak to some of the monks. They were not amenable to advice, were untractable, and did not accept admonitions with respect. And he had also heard that 2 monks had been boasting of their skill in preaching, saying, "Come, let us see who will preach more profusely, more beautifully, and at greater length." And when the Buddha was informed about this by Kassapa, he had these monks summoned and gave them a stern lecture, making them give up their childish conceit. So this is from the Samyutta Nikaya book 16 or chapter 16, verse 6. And hence we can see that Kassapa's negative report turned out to be of positive benefit to those monks. It was not done just for the sake of criticizing others. On the second occasion that the Buddha invited Kassapa to give a discourse to the monks, Kassapa did not wish to instruct the monks because They were not amenable to admonishment. They lacked faith in the good. They lacked a sense of shame and fear of wrongdoing. So shame and fear of wrongdoing, or hiri otapa. So that means if they did something wrong, they had no regret. And they were slack and devoid of wisdom. So Kassapa compared such monks in their state of decline to the waning moon, which daily loses its beauty, confidence, in roundness. The moon slowly, the waning moon slowly reduces in its roundness. In splendor, if you notice a waning moon, it's like diminishing in height, in energy, and in wisdom. On still a third occasion, the Buddha asked Kassapa to instruct the monks, and Kassapa again expressed his reluctance for the same reason as before. It seems that this time too, the Buddha did not urge Kassapa to change his mind, but he himself spoke of the reasons for their conduct. Formerly, Kassapa, there were elders of the order who were forest dwellers, living on alms food, wearing rag robes, using only the set of 3 robes, having few wants, being contented, living secluded and aloof from society, energetic. That means they practice with faith and energy, and they praised and encouraged such a way of life. When such elders visited a monastery, they were gladly welcomed and honored as being dedicated to the practice of the Dhamma. Then the younger monks would also strive to emulate them in their way of life. And this would be of great benefit to them for a long time. But nowadays, Kassapa, those who are honored when visiting a monastery are not monks of austere and earnest life, but those who are well known and popular and are amply provided with the requisites of a monk. And these are welcome and honored. And the younger monks try to emulate them, which will bring them harm for a long time. And one will be right in saying that such monks are harmed and overpowered by what does harm to a monk's life. And on another occasion, Kassapa asked the Buddha, what is the reason that formerly there were fewer rules, but more monks were established in the knowledge of arahantship? While now there are more rules, but fewer monks are established in the knowledge of arahantship. This is a very interesting question that Mahākassapa asked the Buddha, and it's a very valid question. So we can see, obviously, Kassapa is one who has utmost, discipline in the practice, and he upholds that in his practice, as we read before. And obviously, when he sees how the Sangha has changed and has evolved, he wants to know the reason. So it's a very valid question that Mahākassapa asked the Buddha. And the Buddha replied, and so it happens, Kassapa, when beings deteriorate and the true Dhamma vanishes, when there are more rules and fewer arhats. There will be, however, no vanishing of the true Dhamma until a sham Dhamma arises in the world. But when a sham Dhamma arises in the world, then the true Dhamma vanishes. But Kassapa is not a cataclysm of the 4 elements, earth, water, fire, and air, that makes the true Dhamma disappear. That's very interesting. So what the Buddha is saying is not because of some natural disaster, let's say, caused by the four elements, that eventually the true Dhamma will disappear. Nor is the reason for its disappearance similar to the overloading of a ship that causes it to sink. So here is interesting because it's saying, well, it's not because of some natural disaster that you'll see the true Dhamma disappear. It's also not because overloading of ship. Too many people are trying to embrace the Dhamma or come into contact with it, that it will not be able to withhold that. But it is rather the presence of 5 detrimental attitudes that causes the obscuration and disappearance of the true Dhamma. And what are they? These are the 5. It is the lack of respect and regard for the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, the training, means the Vinaya, and meditative concentration, or the bhavana, the practice, on the part of monks and nuns and male and female lay devotees. But so long as there is respect and regard for those 5 things, the true Dhamma will remain free of obscuration and will not disappear. Okay, so the 5 things here: maintaining the respect and regard of the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, that is the triple gem. The training itself, which includes the precepts, upholding the precepts, etc. The training is also the right effort, that covers that as well. The path, Noble Eightfold Path, that's also part of the training. And meditative concentration here, or collectedness, we can think of it that way. So the bhavana in itself as well, the practice. So all this, we need to continue to maintain respect and regard. So that means to not just respect, but to protect it, So the Sangha, or the community of monks and nuns, another name for it, or another description of the Sangha, is a Sasana Rakha. Sasana Rakha means, Sasana is the Buddha's dispensation. That means the teachings of the Buddha. Rakha means protector. So the Sangha is also sometimes referred to as the Sasana Rakha. That means the protector of the Buddha's dispensation. And so by continuing our training, by continuing our practice in the 6 R's and keeping the precepts, and continuing to basically in our daily practice, right? In the morning, we take homage, we pay homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. We take refuge in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. That's all part of this. That's all part of this. So by doing that daily practice, we are already upholding respect and regard for these 5 things. So we should note that according to this text, the male and female lay followers are also preservers of the Dhamma. So the Sangha is 4. Yeah. So monks, nuns, male and female lay devotees. And from this, we may conclude that even when the Dhamma has come to oblivion among the monks, it will still remain alive when honored and practiced by the laity. Okay, so we play a role. We play an important role as well, even as lay people. Other discourses relating to Mahākassapa deal chiefly with his austere way of life, which was highly praised and commended by the Buddha. So Mahākassapa was foremost in austere practices. I still remember many years ago when I went on pilgrimage near Rajgir, near Vulture's Peak. There's a place called Vulture's Peak, and close by to that were the meditative caves of the Buddha, his chief disciples, Sariputta, Mahamoggallana, Ananda, and Mahākassapa. Those caves are still there. And when we visit those caves, it's nice to be able to visualize what was mentioned in the suttas when King Bimbisara, towards his final days, was imprisoned by his son, Prince Ajatasattu, who of course was brainwashed by Devadatta. And so the Prince Ajatasattu actually imprisoned his own father and took over the throne. And so King Bimbisara was not, he wasn't he wasn't spiteful or regretful or anything. And there was, I don't know, I think it's a commentary, I'm not sure if it's from the sutta, maybe it's from the suttas, I can't remember, where he used to had a lot of so from his prison cell he could see the Buddha and his chief disciples and monks, retinue of monks, coming down from their caves at up in that, I want to say mountain, yeah, kind of mountain hill, coming down to the village for their alms round. And King Bimbisara used to look forward to that sight, that view, even though he was in his prison cell. So it was really quite interesting to have the opportunity to visit those caves. And quite clearly, the Venerable Mahākassapa's cave was the most difficult to get to. It's a little bit tricky to get to his cave. And once you get to his cave, it's more compact. It's not as comfortable. And we can see that, yeah, that does relate to how he practiced in a very austere way of life. Compared to, if I recall, I think Venerable Ananda's cave was quite comfortable. The Buddha's cave was blocked, sectioned off. Nobody was allowed to go and visit the Buddha's cave. That was a very interesting visit. So on one occasion late in his ministry, the Buddha reminded Kassapa that as he has now grown old, he must find his coarse, worn-out rag robes irksome to use. And therefore the Buddha suggested he should now wear robes offered by householders, accept invitations for alms offerings, and live near him. But Kassapa replied, "For a long time I have been a forest dweller, going on alms round and wearing rag robes, and such a life I have commended to others. I have had few wants. I've lived contented, secluded, and I apply strenuous energy," means keep applying, practicing the 6 R's. "And that too I have commended to the others." Correction, keep applying. So what I'm trying to say is the word strenuous energy here might give a different idea. So what it's trying to say is he wasn't exerting force in his practice, but he kept going. There is a difference. He kept going. So he kept applying energy to his practice all the time. So that's what it meant, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. And that too I have commended to others. And when the Buddha asked, but for what reason do you live in this way? And Kassapa replied, for two reasons. For my own pleasant abiding here and now. So obviously he's gotten comfortable with that way of living. And so if he were to suddenly change that way of living, he would feel uncomfortable, not others. He himself would feel out of place. And the second reason is out of compassion for later generations of monks who, when they hear about such a life, might think to emulate it, to follow it. And then the Buddha said, well spoken, Kassapa, well spoken. You are living for the happiness of many out of compassion for the world, for the benefit and welfare of gods and humans. You may then keep to your coarse rag robes, go out for alms and live in the forest. This, our Kassapa, said the Buddha, is satisfied with whatever robes, alms, food, lodging, and medicine he obtains. For the sake of these, he will not do anything that is unbefitting for a monk. And if he does not obtain any of these requisites, he is not perturbed. And when he obtains them, he makes use of them without clinging or infatuation. And that's really key. That's important. So basically what it's trying to say is, what the Buddha is trying to say is, when he receives any requisites, he neither repels nor clings towards them, neither pushing away nor clinging to any requisites that he receives. Not committing any fault, aware of possible dangers, and knowing them as an escape from bodily affliction. By the example of Kassapa, or by one who equals him, I will exhort you, monks, thus admonish, you should practice in the same way. The Buddha also mentioned that Mahākassapa was exemplary in his relation to the laity. When going among the families on his alms round or on invitation, he did not think wishfully, may people give amply and give things of quality. May they give quickly and respectfully. He had no such thoughts, but remained detached, like the moon that sheds its mid-light mile light from a distance. When Kassapa goes around among families, his mind is not attached, not caught up, not fettered. He rather thinks, let those who want gain acquire gain, and let those who want merit do merit. And he is pleased and glad at the gains of others, just as he is pleased and glad at his own gains. And such a monk is fit to go among families. And when he preaches the doctrine, he will not do so for the sake of personal recognition and praise, but for letting them know the teaching of the Exalted One, so that those who hear it may accept it and practice accordingly. And he will preach because of the excellence of the teaching and out of compassion and sympathy. But the strongest recognition of Mahākassapa's achievement, the highest praise given him by the Buddha, came when the master said that Kassapa could attain at will, just as he himself, the Buddha, could, the four fine material and the four immaterial meditative absorptions, the cessation of perception and feeling, and could also attain the six supernormal knowledges, which include the supernormal powers and culminate in the attainment of Nibbana. So he was very skilled in the mastery of the jhanas, let's put it that way. And he also could attain the six supernormal knowledges, and powers leading to Nibbana. Here, his powerful meditative achievements, akin to those of the Buddha, appear as a characteristic trait of Mahākassapa's mind. It's because of that deep meditative calm that he could adapt himself unperturbed to all external situations and live as one of the few ones, materially and socially. In his verses preserved in the Thera, which is the verses or songs, let's say, depends on how you see it, of the elder monks, Mahākassapa praises again and again the peace of the jhanas. He was one who went from abundance to abundance. In his lay life, he had lived in the abundance of wealth and harmony. As a monk, he dwelt in the abundance of jhanic experience, furthered by his former life in the Brahma world. While in some of the texts he appears to be very severe, this should not lead us to believe that he was harsh by nature. When he occasionally rebuked others in stern words, he did so for pedagogical reasons in order to help them. And this we shall see especially when we deal with his relationship to Ananda. Okay, perhaps next chapter is fairly short. So what do you think? Shall we continue? Just a very short chapter, encounters with deities. Yes?
Continue.
Continue? Okay. All right. So just a very short chapter. We continue just a little bit more. Our sources record 2 meetings of Mahākassapa with deities. And they are related here because they illustrate his independence of spirit and his determination to keep to his austere way of living without accepting privileges even from beings of a higher order. Now, the first was with a young female deity named Laja. And she remembered that she had obtained her present celestial happiness because in her previous human existence as a poor woman, she had offered parched rice to the elder Mahākassapa with a believing heart, uttering the aspiration, "May I be a partaker of the truth you have seen." And on her way home, while reflecting on her offering, she was bitten by a snake and died, and was immediately reborn in the heaven of the 33 in the midst of great splendor. And this the deity remembered, and in her gratitude, she now wanted to serve the great elder. And descending to earth, she swept the elder's cell and filled the water vessels. And after she had done so for 3 days, the elder saw her radiant figure in his cell, and after questioning her, asked her to leave. He did not wish monks of the future to criticize him for accepting the services of a deity. His entreaties were of no avail. The deity rose into the air, filled with great sadness. The Buddha, aware of what had happened, appeared to the deity and consoled her by speaking of the worth of meritorious deeds and their great reward. But he also said that it had been Kassapa's duty to practice restraint. In the other story, it was told that Mahākassapa, while living at the Pipali cave, had entered a period of 7 days uninterrupted meditation. And at the end of that period, after emerging from his absorption, he went to Rajagaha on ashram. And at that time, 500 female deities of Sakka's retinue keenly desired to offer him alms. And they approached the elder with the food they had prepared, asking him to bestow his favor upon them by accepting their offering. And Kassapa, however, declined, for he wanted to bestow his favor on the poor so that they could earn merit. And they entreated him several times, but finally left, after he repeatedly refused to yield. And when Saka, king of the gods, heard about their vain effort, he too experienced a keen desire to offer alms to the elder. To avoid being refused, he assumed the guise, Saka assumed the guise of an old weaver. And when Mahākassapa approached, he offered rice to him. At the moment the rice was accepted, it turned exceedingly fragrant. Then Mahākassapa knew that this old weaver was not a human being, but Saka. And he reproached the Deva king thus: "You have done a grievous wrong, Kosya. By doing so, you have deprived poor people of the chance to acquire merit. Do not do such a thing again." "We too need merit," revered Kassapa, Saka replied. "We too are in need of merit. But have I acquired merit or not by giving alms to you through deception?" So Saka was a little bit pleading with Mahākassapa, saying that, yeah, we are devas in the 32 realms, but we also need to practice meritorious actions, because if we don't do this, in the deva realms, it's hard for them to be able to acquire merit as well. So Saka was trying to remind Mahākassapa, but we also need merit as well. We also need to do meritorious action. So are you telling me that what I've done, by deceiving you means I didn't gain any merit? So then Mahākassapa said, you have gained merit, friend. So now Saka, while departing, gave voice to the following solemn utterance. Udana means like utterance is a good word. "Oh, almsgiving, highest almsgiving, well bestowed on Kassapa." So we can see that Mahākassapa was not only highly regarded by the Buddha and by the monks and the lay people, but also by higher beings in the Deva realms as well. So that's very interesting. Okay, we shall pause here for the book reading, and then the next time we shall read about Mahākassapa's relationship with the fellow monks. Okay, so let's pause here for any comments or questions from those who dialed in. Did you like the reading so far?
Yes, I enjoy these stories. They're good fun.
Yeah, good fun, good fun.
Not too mentally stretching. You can just listen to it and sort of enjoy it, I suppose is the right word.
Enjoy, yes, enjoy. Sorry?
Perhaps it's a bit deeper than I can see, so I'm missing some of it. Could be.
Yeah. It's very nice to see also how the different characters or elders or chief disciples during the Buddha's time, or senior disciples during the Buddha's time, a lot of them have had previous encounters in previous existences, not once, not twice, but many times. And that's something that I always remind myself, that people who we have relationships with in present life, whether it's family, parents, siblings, colleagues at work, close friends, it does make one think that if we have a kind of a very strong relationship whether it's a like relationship or a hate relationship or both, quite likely it had come from a previous existence encounter as well. So something to reflect about. But other than that, yeah, it's always interesting when reading these stories. I remember when this book was first introduced to me about 20 odd years ago, I think now. And the person who introduced us to the book said that it's also a very inspiring book to read for our own practice, because we get to see how much dedication and, to a certain extent, sacrifice the Buddha went through, and his senior disciples went through as well, and to develop from that an even deeper faith and confidence in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. So we read earlier in one section, one paragraph that mentioned that how to keep the true Dhamma continuing. And one of the ways is to continue to revere and respect the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. And so by reading these stories, the other thing that's nice to read is also the Jātakas. But by reading these stories, hopefully it will amplify that confidence in the teachings of the Buddha, so that we continue to practice, which by continuing the practice, it will also help to preserve the Buddha's dispensation. Madam Nanda, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Thank you very much for the reading. I thought it's very, very interesting. As you said, it's very interesting to read how much they renounce and how much they have purified their own personality and the way they think about everything, and how deep the renunciation of craving and desire. It is fascinating. Thank you very much. Very, very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. No, you're most welcome. It is very fascinating. But one of the things I also remind myself is their renunciation and their sacrifice is so deep, because they left a bigger impact. So I always see it that way. If they hadn't done that amount of sacrifice and that amount of renunciation to that level, 2,600 years later, we probably wouldn't have the benefit of reading the text. It might have been gone by now. The other thing that we read, which I thought was interesting today, of course, it's a commentary. It's not from the suttas. I mean, it's a commentary from the authors, but for me, it does mean something. So I'll repeat again here the paragraph that the author shared, which I thought was good to note. We should note that according to this text, the male and female lay followers are also preservers of the Dhamma. And from this, we may conclude that even when the Dhamma has come to oblivion among the monks, it will still remain alive when honored and practiced. So we do play an important role, and we should not take that lightly, I guess. Yeah, so yeah, thank you for sharing, and I'm glad that these stories hopefully add a little bit more flavor to our practice and our study. I just don't know if it's people who don't dial in find it beneficial or not. But I occasionally
Pi, excuse me to interrupt. Pi sent me a message saying that he has some family commitments, so he's not able to dial in this morning. But I'm sure if he's free next Sunday, he will dial in. Yes.
No, that's all good. And of course, I'm sure he will watch the recording later as well on YouTube. But thanks. I'm so happy to see that you're all supporting each other in your practice, and that's so important. And lately, I've come to realize more than ever the huge importance of how support or associating with the wise really is, like the Buddha said, when Venerable Ananda asked him, or when they were having this conversation back and forth, and then Venerable Ananda said, oh, having strong support of like-minded individuals, wise individuals who practice, is half of the, or part of the journey. And then the Buddha kind of said to Ananda, again, I'm not quoting word for word, but it was something along the lines of, no, Ananda, you shouldn't say that. Having good support and association with the wise, and having like-minded people supporting each other in the practice is all of the practice. It's not part of the practice, it's all of the practice, because that's where we support each other, help each other when we potentially stray off a little bit, to come back, or if we are struggling with our practice, to have the support and the guidance. So it is very important. And for those who don't have that in close proximity, then even at least try to and we know this intuitively. We will intuitively know, once we continue with our practice. We are daily, practicing 6 hours, and we're always smiling and practicing the loving kindness and metta, that intuitively we will know who we want to associate with, and who we would, let's put it this way, give a passing hi and bye, as in we would rather not, if possible, associate too much time. And the beauty of this whole energy exchange, I call it, for lack of a better word, the beauty is when we continue to practice more the loving kindness, those that aren't like-minded will find it uncomfortable to be in our vicinity. Isn't it amazing? I find that very amazing. I don't know if anyone else has encountered the same. It's occurred to me so many times that I don't think it's coincidental anymore. Has anyone had that encounter when you're practicing loving kindness, or when you're continuously smiling, or even if you're not that, even if you just maintain a very positive energy around you? Have you ever encountered where by just maintaining that, somehow people of a different energy will feel uncomfortable and want to leave the room. Sorry, I see a hand raised. Oh, I missed that. Did somebody raise a hand? Did I miss a hand? No? Okay, never mind. I went off tangent again. Let's share some merits, if that's okay. Yeah. Let me see if I can fit it into one page. Yay, I can. Okay, let me try and share this. Okay, so let's share some merits. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share in this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay. Thank you so much again for dialing in today. Hope you enjoyed listening and have a great week ahead.
Thank you very much, Mei. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye to you.